Hello and welcome to another edition of Wednesday Winning Words, which is by the grace of God, the 20th edition. The strength of God has carried us all through, even on to today. I'm your host, Abigail Emmanuel, and by God's grace today, I pray that His word will, profit you in all way. And the word of God will strengthen you and increase you to run the remaining days of the week with power also. Last week, by the word of God, we looked at the subject of wisdom. We saw how true wisdom, life that is meant to be had for a normal man, is made simple for the spiritual man, for the man who puts his trust in God. We also saw how, with wisdom, life's mystery can be unraveled, every problem solved, premium ideas birthed, leading to breakthrough and dominion in life. We also saw how life worries and concerns are turned naturally into ease, and we also saw how problems can be put to death through the wisdom of God. We saw that the wisdom of God cannot be comprehended by the mind of God. We saw how the wisdom of God can look foolish unto a man but very very profitable when engaged. We also saw how the subject of wisdom can make the life of a believer, can make a believer to enjoy longevity. So it doesn't really matters if you keep confessing long life, long life, long life. It also matters the wisdom that you engage to make that long life a reality for you. Now, in simple terms, to define wisdom, we can say wisdom is the use of God's solution for life's problem. Wisdom also is solving life issues with superior solutions, not the solutions derived from the mind of man, but the solutions derived from the word of God, from the spirit of God. And we also saw that the fear of God is wisdom, because the book of Proverbs told us boldly and openly that the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. That is, for everyone who claims to have the wisdom of God and does not fear God, is just telling a lie. So this actually means that wisdom has a beginning, and that beginning stated by the word of God is the fear of God. So there's a call for you to go back and look and see if you fear God. If you do not fear God, it means that you have not started your walk of wisdom. But if you fear God, it means that you have started your walk of wisdom. And God is able to come and freely influence you with His wisdom continuously. But if you do not fear Him, He's not sure who is going to influence you with His wisdom. And therefore, He's not going to bestow His wisdom on you. And someone might, likely ask, what are the signs that someone truly fears God? The first sign to the fear of God is the love for God. The love of God that makes you to, shun evil without having a second thought, to be able to do away with anything that does not pleases God. And the second sign of the fear of God is the love for others. If you find out that you are finding it difficult to love a fellow human being, it means that evil is slowly creeping into your heart, and it means that the fear of God has left you. So the love of God and the love of your fellow humans is the first sign of the fear of God in your heart. And then moving into our topic for today, which is going to be from the book of James chapter 3 verse 13 to 17, still on the subject of wisdom. The first verse says, "Who is wise and understanding among you? Let him show by good conduct that his works are done in the meekness of wisdom." Wisdom knows it all. Yes, there's nothing that wisdom cannot sort out. Wisdom knows it all, yes, but it never make boast on the fact that it knows it all, because it knows very well that it is outsourced from God, and because it is outsourced from God, it has to reveal the character of God alongside His activities. And wisdom is not seen as wisdom except and unless it produces fruits that are good and perfect to qualify that it is wisdom, and wisdom from God. And verse 14 and 15 going further says, but if you have bitter envy and self-seeking in your hearts, do not boast and lie against the truth. Which means that if there's these qualities, bitterness and self-seeking, that is selfishness in your midst, there's nothing like wisdom in you again. Wisdom does not reside where it has contrary characters, like this two that has been mentioned, boasting and self-seeking. Wisdom of God dwell in the midst of other characters of God. And then verse 15 says, this wisdom does not descend from above, but is earthly, sensual, demonic. That means there's divine wisdom and there's the earthly wisdom. And in the midst of this earthly wisdom, you are able to find the characters that is not emanating from God. But if you find the wisdom of God, then there must be other characters of God accompanying it or inhabiting the hearts of a man altogether. The first statement says, which is as for say, clearly shows us why the fear of God is. The first statement in verse 14 once again shows us clearly why the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom, because anyone who fears God enough cannot be found with bitterness and self-seeking altogether in him. And then verse 15 tells us that any verse 16 tells us that any wisdom that contains any character outside the character of Christ is not the wisdom of God. Rather, it is earthly wisdom, sensual wisdom, and even demonic wisdom. And this means that any wisdom that doesn't begins with the fear of God is still wisdom, but an inferior type of wisdom, a wisdom that is self-seeking and even envious, a wisdom that is full of bitterness, it is full of the weakness of sin. Therefore, it is not as credible as the wisdom of God, which is divine. Then note that wisdom is qualified by the fruit that it bears. If wisdom does not bear fruit, it cannot even be revealed. Wisdom is revealed only when there's full fruit that we can see. And that fruit that we can see is one that will determine the kind of wisdom that it is. If you find someone who claims to be wise but is self-seeking and bitter, it means that that person is not carrying the wisdom of God, but rather essential wisdom, a demonic wisdom, or even an earthly wisdom. Knows that these three kinds of wisdom can be sourced anywhere except from God. A demonic wisdom is outrightly sourced from demons, from the devil. Earthly wisdom is, sourced from the earth, and there's no guarantee that that place in the earth that you are sourced that wisdom is filled with the Spirit of God. Essential wisdom also is sourced from the earth, is sourced from the minds of men, and it now determines if those men fear God or not. If they do not fear God, then anything that comes from them is equally sin-like in nature. We cannot argue that whatever comes out of you is what defines you. If evil comes out of you, you are outrightly evil. If self-seeking character comes out of you, you are outrightly evil. Now, verse 16 says, For where envy and self seeking exist, confusion and every evil thing are there. This is why, as a believer, the wisdom of God is the only kind of wisdom you should use, because this verse has opened our eyes to the things that are contained in the earthly, sensual, and demonic wisdom. It is confusion, that is despair and uncertainty, which is the opposite of the wisdom of God. If you find the wisdom of God, as I told you last week, joy and peace is automatically activated because worry is put away. Worry is when you don't know what to do, but with wisdom, you always know what to do, and that means that there will be no place for wisdom. And then the last verse, which is verse 17, says, But the wisdom that is from above is first of all pure. There's purity with this wisdom. Secondly, everyone who works with the wisdom from above first have a pure intention. It is not to come and you know um, dominate or be a dictator to other people. No, it has a pure intention, always the wisdom of God. Then peaceable. This wisdom is not trouble, it's not a troublesome wisdom. The wisdom of God cannot cause trouble. Rather, it brings peace. It brings peace without even being coerced. And the next quality of this wisdom of God is gentleness. There's no arrogance with the wisdom of God. It is always gentle. It is always gentle. And then the next quality also is willing to yield. Anyone with the wisdom of God is not a lazy person. No, he is always at work, always trying to find out and bring out solutions. So it is willing to yield. If you find out that you're struggling to yield from the wisdom that you claim to have, it means that that wisdom is not really the wisdom of God. The wisdom of God is willing to yield the solutions at every time and any moment, not wanting to not this also means that one who operates with the wisdom of God does not really need incentives, okay? It's willing to yield always. It's also full of mercy, which basically means that because it is gotten from God, it cannot be merciless. God is merciful. He puts his mercy in his wisdom. So everyone who yields his wisdom yields also mercy. Then it is full of good fruits, and that is the key character we can use to justify the wisdom that you're using. If that wisdom is not yielding fruits that are good, it means that it is not the wisdom of God. It is without partiality because it is built on the platform of the fear of God, and it is without hypocrisy because it is first of all pure. And everything that is pure cannot be hypocritic at the same time. So God bless you. I will see you next week here at Wednesday Winning Words. Everyone like and share. Bye bye.